We are getting an inside look at one home of the future that has green tech all over. This is the Boxabl Casita. It is a 20 by 20 room module that can be deployed and set up in less than an hour. Elon Musk just did it, an $8,000 Tesla house that folds up like a box and sets up in under an hour. Imagine your future home arriving like a piece of IKEA furniture, promising both affordability and sustainability. But behind the slick numbers and smart tech lies a hidden catch that could change everything. Let us expose why Musk claims this modular of marvel will bring the future to everyone. But is it really what it seems? This box of wonders is supposed to address both housing affordability and environmental sustainability, a combo that's like catnip to Twitter followers. The goal is to produce these homes en masse, almost like electric cars. Picture a future where houses roll off an assembly line just like those shiny Model 3s, except instead of overheating on the freeway, you just have to hope your new dwelling doesn't fold itself up if you press the wrong button. But there's a twist, one hidden feature that could turn this entire concept on its head, and it's not what you'd expect. This home gets built in a factory somewhere and shipped to you ready to unfold. What a thrill! Your new living space comes like it's a piece of IKEA furniture, only it's your entire future. The idea is that you can even customize this thing with modules, a concept they're borrowing from video games. Apparently, you look at these unfolding buildings, and you think they must be amazingly complex, but they're not. They're just hinging the building in such a way that it has to want another room. Sure, just snap on another module. Bigger family, now add more modules. The dream is that these homes will evolve as their owners' lives do, but who's going to be paying for those add-ons? Probably not something included in that super affordable $8,000 price tag. We're talking about minimalist modern living, the vision of the good life. Apparently involves everyone living in small chic boxes with lots of glass, clean lines, and enough smart features to make sure you can't get away from your phone even if you tried. And if you're one of those people who think bigger is better, well, you're just stuck in the past. The future is about being small, sleek, efficient, and probably also tiny enough that you're forced to face your own existential dread every morning while sipping a branded coffee. And if this all feels a bit overwhelming, don't worry, because the company will keep you connected with smart home integration. You'll be able to control your box from your phone, adjust the lighting, and feel secure knowing your foldable house can be locked with the same app you use to summon your self-driving car. All very high-tech, all very impressive, until you have a Wi-Fi outage and can't figure out how to unlock the front door. But let's not forget about the supposed sustainability of these homes, cause that's one of the big selling points. Here the house is going to have its own solar panels, which means you don't need to worry about your electricity bills, right? Well, sure, if you don't count the maintenance cost or the fact that solar panels have an actual lifespan, which means you'll eventually need to replace them. And don't even get me started on cloudy days or winter when the sun is just an absentee landlord. But at least you'll have one of those big batteries, the Powerwall, to store what little energy you do manage to soak up. It's not like those cost a small fortune or anything. And what about the production of these homes? They're promising mass production. We can do half a dozen deals like that a year or more. It's just administrative folks here that we have to do, because we're just sort of mass producing, factories with houses rolling off assembly lines like cars. Let's ignore for a moment how dystopian that sounds, because who doesn't want their house mass produced like a disposable consumer product? And focus on the logistics. Producing homes on a large scale like that means setting up factories, sourcing materials, and keeping everything on schedule. It's all very ambitious, but the company doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to meeting deadlines. Remember all those Model 3 delay? Yeah, just imagine that. But with your actual house, land isn't exactly cheap, especially in the kinds of places where people actually want to live. They're not selling you land with these homes, which means you still need to figure that part out. Sure, the house might be affordable if you squint hard enough, but the land is a whole other story. Are we all supposed to just move to the middle of nowhere, set up our boxes, and hope for the best? Because I have a feeling that the kind of people who can afford this home aren't exactly the same people who want to live miles away from civilization. And let's not forget the tech integration, because of course your home isn't really a must creation if it doesn't come with a bunch of gadgets and an app that you need to control everything. You'll be able to adjust the lighting, the temperature, and even lock your doors from your phone. Great, until your Wi-Fi goes down or the app crashes, and suddenly you're locked out of your own house. There's something deeply unsettling about needing an internet connection to turn on the lights in your own home. But hey, that's the future he wants for us. Can Elon Musk really change the house in market, or is there more to this story? There is something to be said for the idea of affordable, sustainable housing. Boxabl aims to tackle one of the world's most pressing issues, affordable housing. The concept is straightforward yet revolutionary: fully functional home that costs only $10,000. The housing market is a mess, and anything that makes it easier for people to own their own homes is worth exploring, as if the company can actually deliver on this promise. And that's a big if. It could be a game share, but let's not pretend that this is some altruistic endeavor. He isn't doing this out of the goodness of his heart. He's a businessman, and if there's one thing we know is that he knows how to make money. The home is no different. It's a product, and like all products is designed to make someone a profit, probably him first maybe. Boxabl second, and somewhere way down the line if you're lucky you might actually end up with a house. And then there's the environmental aspect. Yes, solar power is great, and yes, making homes more energy efficient is a good thing, but there's a lot more to sustainability than just slapping some solar panels on a roof. What about the materials used to build these homes? Are they sustainably sourced? What about the environmental impact of setting up the factories needed to produce these homes en masse? And what happens to these homes when they reach the end of their lifespan? Sustainability is about the entire life cycle of a product, not just how much energy it uses once it's built, but those aren't the kinds of questions that get answered in flashy product announcements. The idea of living off-grid is also a bit of a fantasy for most people. Sure, it sounds great, you're not relying on the power grid, you're generating your own energy, you're self-sufficient, but the reality is that most people aren't equipped to handle the kind of maintenance that comes with being off. Grid solar panels need upkeep, batteries need replacing, and if something goes wrong you're on your own. It's one thing to be off grid in a theoretical sense, it's another thing entirely when the reality of that lifestyle starts to set in the home. Is an intriguing concept, it's bold, it's ambitious, and it's exactly the kind of thing you'd expect, but it's also full of unanswered questions and potential pitfalls. There's a lot of hype, but as always the reality is likely to be a bit messy. The idea of affordable, sustainable housing is one that we should all get behind, but it's worth approaching this latest venture with a healthy dose of skepticism. Let's dive into the latest and the habit of making audacious claims. This time it's not about cars, rockets, or even underground tunnels, it's houses. That's right, he's now trying to sell us a sustainable home for a mere $8,000, and no, this isn't some random startup garage experiment. It's the same company again. Looks like the next target of disruptive ambitions is the housing market, because why not? Who else could come up with an idea that manages to sound both brilliant and absolutely questionable at the same time? The whole thing has all the buzzwords you'd expect: affordable, sustainable, eco-friendly, whatever you want, it's there. It's supposed to have solar panels, a power wall for energy storage, and of course all the smart tech fans have come to expect. Well, here they have tacked on a Tesla Powerwall as well as a Tesla charger. I've never seen this sort of setup, so obviously they are encouraging Tesla owners to get their own Boxabl. On paper this thing could be the dream if you're willing to live in a tiny box. That is, the so-called home is supposed to be modular, cost-effective, and energy efficient. Basically, it's a Lego set for adults where you can expand your living space one module at a time. God, I love it. It's like the vision of a starter home for hipsters with aspirations of buying more boxes as their dreams and bank accounts grow. The idea of the company diving head first into the housing market makes a kind of sense. After all, they've already got the electric vehicle thing covered, and they're deep into solar power. Housing is just the next logical step for the wholesale sustainable lifestyle stick, but it's not like they're about to be welcomed with open arms. The sustainable housing game has been around for a while, and companies already playing in the sandbox have some serious experience that this company is going to have to contend with. Not to mention the housing industry, unlike cars, is full of regulatory red tape and local codes that are practically begging to make life a nightmare. There's a lot of it. First off, you've got Boxabl, the company that's been trying to make IKEA-style homes a thing, and coincidentally, or not, they rumored to be where he currently resides. There's a bunch of different reasons why building construction is not compatible with the factory. The first big one is the shipping. They're small, modular, and already available on the market. Then there's Icon, another big name that's using 3D printing to throw houses together cheaply and fast. Icon's got their own take on what affordable, sustainable housing should look like, and spoiler alert, it's not just another Tech Brothers dream project. Throw in companies like Living Homes, who are all about customizable modular designs, and even old school construction giants dabbling in sustainable practices, and suddenly this company's path to world domination, or a housing domination, doesn't seem quite so straightforward. The company does bring a few tricks to the table: their integrated solar tech Powerwall batteries, and that whole smart home connectivity package. It's definitely something. Imagine your house charging your car, running your lights, and sending you notifications when the neighborhood stray cat decides to take a nap on your porch. And it's a big, but this isn't as simple as building another electric vehicle. Building codes vary not just state to state, but even neighborhood to neighborhood. That's a whole lot of bureaucracy to deal with, even for someone who's notoriously good at bending, if not outright breaking the rules. See, it's one thing to roll a car off an assembly line and ship it to a dealership, and it's another to deliver a livable home. These homes aren't just hitting the road with a driver behind the wheel. There are cranes, permits, specialized transport, a whole host of hurdles that make building and distributing houses a lot more cumbersome. The company's not exactly going to be slapping a delivered by sticker on one of these boxes and calling it a day. Now let's see if Tesla can actually deliver on the promise of affordable homes. If they somehow manage to make this work, it could mean big changes for how we think about housing. Imagine affordable solar-powered houses that don't need a traditional energy grid and come with a bunch of plug-and-play add-ons. It's a great story, at least on the surface. Tech billionaire saves the planet one box at a time, but right now it's all still very much in the imagine if phase. The reality is that the sustainable housing market is loaded with players who know what they're doing, and this company's up against challenges has never faced before: regulatory hurdles, logistical nightmares, a very different kind of consumer base. This isn't selling cars to people who want to save on gas and look cool while doing it. He has always been about shaking things up, and that's exactly what the sustainable housing market needs, someone to push it forward, get people talking, and maybe just maybe move the needle, but whether or not they can actually live up to the hype this time, especially at that sweet $88,000 price point, is anyone's guess. It's an ambitious idea, sure, but as always the devil's in the details, and those details are often where things get tricky. Is the company going to revolutionize housing, or is this another ambitious Elon ISM destined to be a footnote in a tech biography 10 years from now? We'll find out, assuming you can get in line early enough to snag one of those $88,000 solar-powered dream boxes. It's either going to be the start of something genuinely transformative, or well, just another chapter in his endless attempt to do absolutely everything. Whether it makes sense or not, the core idea behind the company's foray into housing seems straightforward enough. Modular cell. Sustaining and relatively affordable homes that rely on renewable energy, so all the good things with the Casita you see, with the 9 1/2 ceiling, the long sidelines, the 8T tall windows to the 3T wide. But let's be real, making affordable housing on a large scale is one of the most challenging feats imaginable. Housing prices have been skyrocketing, especially in urban areas where land costs, labor, and regulations cons to push prices higher and higher. Enter Musk promising to create a sustainable home for $88,000 that could potentially solve this crisis. Sounds like a dream, right? But like with most dreams, the devil is very much in the details, and in this case the obstacles are numerous. Then there's the matter of scale. Elon has always been about scale. Building a product is one thing, but building millions of that product is quite another. They have faced supply chain issues in the past, particularly when scaling up production of their cost. The challenges in housing will be similar, if not worse. Think about all the materials needed to build houses: lumber, concrete, insulation, wiring. All of these have to be sourced, transported, and assembled. Supply chain disruptions, which we've seen a lot of recently, could create enormous bottlenecks, causing delays and pushing costs higher. Housing isn't just about tech, it's about logistics, and if the past few years have taught us anything, is that logistics can get complicated fast, even if they manage to overcome all of these obstacles: the zoning, the supply chain, the labor shortages, the personalization. There still the issue of competition. Boxabl, Icon Living Homes, and traditional builders aren't going to just sit around and let them take over the market. Maybe just the one finger I'm thinking, oh, that's crazy. They've got their own tech, their own innovations, and in many cases a head start. Boxes, modular units for instance, are already on the market, and they're generating interest partly because their simple and relatively affordable Icons 3D printed homes offer a unique angle on affordability and sustainability, and traditional builders are gradually incorporating green practices and modular techniques into their projects. The company will need to offer something truly revolutionary to stand out, and while solar panels and power walls are certainly a good start, it might not be enough to overcome the entrenched players in the industry. Elon has always been a master at getting people excited. He's got a knack for selling the dream, whether it's electric cars, reusable rockets, or colonizing Mars, and to his credit, he's delivered on many of those dreams, at least to some extent. But housing is different. It's not as glamorous as a sports car or as all-empowering as a rocket launch. It's the kind of thing that involves mundane, everyday challenges: zoning, regulations, logistics, labor shortages that don't exactly inspire viral tweets. If they are serious about this, they're going to need to do more than just make a cool announcement. They're going to have to get into the weeds, solve problems that have plagued builders for decades, and do it all while keeping cost fate low enough to actually be affordable. That's a tall order. The company's venture into housing is ambitious, as all Musk's projects are. It's an attempt to do something big, to change the game, and to bring sustainable living to more people, and maybe, just maybe, it will work. But there's a long road ahead, full of potholes and detours, and it's not entirely clear if they have what it takes to navigate. Building cars is one thing, building houses is another, and building communities, which is what sustainable affordable housing is really about, is something else entirely. Elon has always thrived on pushing boundaries, breaking rules, and doing things others consider impossible, and that's part of why he's managed to get as far as he has. But housing isn't space travel or electric vehicles. It's an industry full of complexities that don't just bend to innovation. Whether or not he can bring his vision of affordable, sustainable housing to life remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be interesting to watch him try. It's either going to be the next big revolution or just another tech dream that didn't quite pan out. Is Tesla's housing vision a genuine solution or just another tech fantasy? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.